Good morning and welcome. I'm Pat Croce, and this is the American Cancer Society's HEALED Community Gathering. HEALED, H-E-A-L-E-D. Health and energy through active living every day. And I'd like to thank our sponsors, starting with our media presenting sponsor, 6ABC. And for your information, all past 15 gatherings are on 6abc.com, so check them out. I'd also like to thank our leadership partners who are making HEALED possible and the research that we're doing down in Atlanta possible. And also all of you who have gone to acshealed.com, committed a couple dollars, got your bracelets, and are wearing them proudly and in support of all those who've been diagnosed with cancer or those who are caregivers supporting those who have been diagnosed with cancer. Once again, thank you all for joining us. I love to start our gatherings every week with a moment of stillness. And we do that by, I ring this little Tibetan bell, and all I ask you to do is place your attention right now, right here on this sound. And that opens the door to our safe space, our space of aware presence, where we all share together, where courage and vulnerability are assets. That's right. We can come forward and talk about things like cancer, like the treatment of cancer, like elevating your moods and your attitudes and your vibrational frequency without hurting anyone's feelings. And with everyone coming to this space, this sacred space, open, available, aware, and just saying, yes, okay, what's up? What can I learn from here? And maybe you'll get a little ping. Something will say, I should give that a try. I love journaling after these gatherings because I've always picked up something in the past 15 weeks. And I guarantee you will today too. If you're just joining us live on Facebook or YouTube, every Wednesday at 11, I thank you. And if you're not, I thank you for being part of this community. And what we're trying to do, not trying, there's no trying, we're doing. We're inspiring, we're encouraging, we're educating, we're informing, we're entertaining everyone in a body, mind, spirit attitude that everyone can work together to make this a much more peaceful, happy, and loving place. But it starts with us. Everything starts with me, right? If it's to be, it starts with me. And so once again, thank you for joining us. My first guest today is an old friend of mine, Aaron McKie. Aaron is the head coach of Temple basketball. He was officially took over the program just 2 years ago. I remember the Hall of Fame coach, John Chaney, and then he was assistant for 5 seasons under Fran Dunphy. Aaron played for John Chaney, so he's a local. He's a homie through and through. Played here at Temple and then eventually played for the Philadelphia 76ers. And I was lucky enough to be running the team when he had his initial reign with the Sixers. Aaron, come on.
Thanks for having me, Pat.
Wow, welcome, buddy. It's great to see you, man. I love that smile.
It's hard for me to imagine you sitting still.
Yeah. For 1 hour, I can do it. My feet are moving. How about that? My feet are. So I want to tell everyone, well, you know what, before we get started on anything that I'd like to bring up, because I want to bring them into the locker room during my reign and how you helped the team that most people have no clue how other than being, the MVP of 6 man off the bench. You got that award in 2001. But why don't you share with us your journey from your roots in Philadelphia to where you are now at Temple?
Well, for me, it started at Belfield Recreation Center as a kid, growing up in that Germantown section, going there every day, seeing Bill Ellaby, who was a father figure, mentor to me, actually was my high school coach at Simon Gratz High School, and just just gave me morals and values and taught me how to be a leader at such a young age. And that followed me to Temple University under the tutelage of Hall of Fame coach John Chaney, who pretty much Coach Ellaby was a disciple of Coach Chaney. He was teaching me the same things: morals, values, discipline, and working hard, and trying to achieve things in life. And the biggest thing is being able to give back to individuals, being able to give back to the community, being a good leader, being a good follower. You can't be a good leader if you're not a good follower. And so I had wonderful men in my life, and Coach Ellaby and Coach Chaney, and one of my other AAU coaches, and John Harnett. Those three men, really helped me, grow in life. I wasn't the easiest to deal with, and they did a tremendous job.
Why do you say that, Aaron? Why do you say you weren't the easiest to deal with?
Well, you got to learn. As a kid, most kids have their selfish ways, and I had my selfish ways. I didn't want to listen. I thought I had all the answers and can do things my way. And being a parent now, you understand a lot better. When you're a kid, you think you got all the answers, but the parents been there and they done those things before, and they just try to be some sort of moral compass for you to help you throughout life. And it takes time. We want it as parents to happen right away, and overnight it takes time for kids to grow. And I was one of those kids. Luckily for me, those individuals that I mentioned were patient enough to wait around for me to grow and mature, and I did so. And it's the same thing that I try to do here with my program: give these kids time to grow and mature, and hopefully they can go out into society and be productive citizens in society.
And so from Sun and Ground to Temple University, you went on to the pros.
Yes.
And you were selected first round, number 17?
Yes, I was the 17th pick. I was picked by the Portland Trailblazers. And actually the summer before, I was on a USA select team where they picked the top 17 guys in the country that was in college. And we went to Europe and we played some basketball games. And our coach was PJ Carlissimo, be the head coach at the Portland Trailblazers. He just recently got hired, and I ended up being his first draft pick with the Portland Trailblazers.
I remember vividly. I think I'm getting feedback on some of these. Scotty, can you control that? 1, 2, 3. I don't know if it's coming through yours, Aaron, and coming back. I don't know. Maybe that's right. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Sounds like there's some echo. Oh, that's okay. So then I remember you getting the trade to Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And when was that? It was 2000.
No.
1997, 98?
Yeah, 98.
Because that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the turnaround. It was like my second year, but it was like the 8th year of a drought for the Philadelphia team that had never made the playoffs. And then you come on, and more importantly, not only a great player, but a great leader in the locker room. We were lacking leadership in the locker room. I can be honest here, so can you, Aaron. We didn't have it because we had players who had talent, but they were not leaders. And then we had AI, Bubba Chuck, our own love, our own true brother, who needed someone like you, a role model, a father figure, even though you were close in age. He needed someone to tell him, that's not right. Here's what you got to do. So share with us, because I'm going to tell everyone right now, if it wasn't for Aaron McKie, yes, in 2001, he got the NBA's sixth man award, which is only given to one player. That means you're the best player that comes off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when he sat on the bench in the locker room, I'd give him another award, because there were times when AI, our Bubba Chuck, Allen Iverson, just was in his own head. And it would be because Larry Brown didn't want to deal with him. Like Larry he felt that you're pros, so you should be able to deal with yourself. And then there were times when I'd say, Aaron, you got to help me here. And how would you handle our buddy?
Well, I'm gonna just go back to when I first came to the team. When I arrived, myself and Theo Ratliff, who was a big piece in that as well. I was reluctant to wanting to come back to Philadelphia, just based on I was with a team that won 56 games. We were in the playoffs, and we were trending in the right direction and being a really good team with the Pistons and Grant Hill and those guys. And Philadelphia just wasn't, in a good spot at that particular time.
I think we only won 22 games the year before.
The pieces were there. The coaching was there. Just the winning just wasn't happening at that time. And I remember my first day of practice there, I was blown away. I said, wow, these guys are really competitive. And we were a player or two away from really being in the conversation of a Eastern Conference team that could be at the top. And every day practices were competitive. Guys got after each other. And what I noticed in the locker room, guys were connected. They were connected. It was just, again, something was missing. And I like to think that I was that linchpin to bring the guys together, where when we would travel, we would go to movies together. We would go to dinner together. We sat on the plane. You know how those plane rides were, where we cracking jokes and playing cards together. And I thought that brought us together more in having a better understanding and having a level of respect for each other. And then we got to the point where we started playing for one another. And that's when the winning started. Everything was in place. And like the story that I told you about, just waiting for guys to mature, and it takes time. And I think AI was that guy, uber talented and can do so many things, can play football, basketball, can draw. He just needed to be shaped. And I was somebody that was in his ear all the time, that was preaching the same thing that Coach Brown was preaching. You're only as good as the people, the individuals that you have around you. So if we're in the locker room saying one thing and Coach Brown is saying something different, chances are we're not going to be in the same page. And we all had one goal in mind, and that was to win. And once we got on the same page, we started to win some basketball games, and we was more connected, and we were like a family, and we just played for one another.
So, Aaron, why did AI listen to you?
I don't know. We spent more time together than any of the other guys. And I say this all the time when I talk about him. We were so much alike, but we were different. We enjoyed cracking jokes. We enjoyed playing basketball, baseball, football. We did all of those things growing up, and we enjoyed, playing cards and shooting dice and playing PlayStation and all of those things, But we were different. His personality and my personality and how he operates and how I operate. We were different in a sense, and we just had a lot of intimate conversations, whether it was on the plane or whether it was on the bus. We talked about life a lot, and I started to understand him a lot better, and the things he was trying to juggle outside of basketball. It's tough. It's tough on a young kid that, when you come from nothing and all of a sudden you have all of these things and you have all of these responsibilities. It's like going from 45 lane to 100 miles an hour. And that's what happened, not just to him, but for so many of us that come from our backgrounds.
And what did you learn from Allen Iverson?
Just to be yourself. He never worried about what people thought about him. I mean, he's an icon. He's an icon in the sense that, Pat, they still talk about him now. I mean, Allen's so far removed from the NBA, but a lot of these young kids, they remember me because of him. They still remember him, the braids and the clothes and all of those different things. He never once worried about what people thought about him. He was going to do things his way. And that's the one thing that I respected about him. In our society now, we struggle so hard because we're all pleasers and we're trying to please so many people. And that's the one thing he never worried about.
And you know what else about AI that most people don't know? That he did walk his walk, but he never badmouthed anyone. Never. Did you ever, Aaron, you were with him those 4 years. I was with him 5. I've never heard him say anything. I mean, you may not get the ball if he keeps passing it to you and you keep missing shots.
Right.
But he's going to give it to you initially. But he'd rather score himself. But he never went public and badmouth. You ever? Never, ever. The coach, me, never, anyone. I mean, that was truly amazing. The superstar status that he had for the team and the league, as you're mentioning, he never used it to his advantage.
He was polished in that sense. And again, one of the things that he never really gets credit for is, he gets credit for his athletic prowess and his ability to score the ball and be dynamic, but he never got, the praise for his basketball IQ. You know, a lot of things on the court he would help me with. Hey man, this is about to happen. They're gonna do this. Look for me here. Do this, do that. A lot of different things we would have dialogue on the court with, and he just never really get the credit for being an IQ basketball player because his athletic prowess was so great. His scoring ability was so, you know, tremendous. So he never got that nod for, you know, being a guy that can think the game. I remember vividly the one time we were practicing and you came walking in, you just came storming in, you wasn't bubbly like your normal self. And he was like, hey, Bubba. And I remember y'all went in that office back in Peacock, and it was the funniest thing. And we stopped practicing. Everybody went over to that window, and we heard everybody in there yelling to the top of their lungs, well, F you, F you, F you, F you. Ah. You hear everybody in there yelling and screaming. About 20 minutes later, you guys come out, you, Coach Brown, and AI clapped his hands and said, hey, man, I'm ready to go. Let's go. And that's when things changed because he knew we had that deal on the table. You guys had that deal on the table, and he was ready to be moved. And I think that really helped him out as well. And he's always had a great deal of respect for you. He's always had a great deal of respect for Coach Brown. That was never an issue. The issue was getting him to conform to structure. And some people don't handle structure well, you know, but we figured it out and things went well for us.
So, well, you said it so well. How do you handle structure at the Temple University program at this level?
Well, just some of the things that I've been taught. I mean, times have changed. A lot of these kids have changed. You know, they got a lot of information that's readily available for them right in front of them on the internet, you know, on all these devices. So they got a lot of different people that's speaking to them and telling them things that's different. And it's constant. It's constant. It's every day, and it's repetitive. It's saying the same thing and being consistent with my message all the time and just teaching them, trying to teach them discipline. But most importantly, getting them to understand the big picture of life. You know, we want to take advantage of this basketball thing by, you know, being educated and just preparing ourselves for life. So if basketball is our players and kids' path, then they'll be prepared for it because I'm a gym rat. I love to get in the gym and work and teach and do all those things. I've been taught by great coaches. But if basketball is not their path, then they're going to be ready for the real world and the real life and get out there in the workforce. So that's the versatility and the discipline that I want to make sure that these kids that come through this program, that they have.
Aaron, can you share with us, before we talk about coaches versus cancer and other topics, can you share with us maybe your top 3 leadership traits that people should use, whether it's work, sports, family, environment, church, it doesn't matter, that 3 traits that you feel that you use, whether it be in the locker room, in the pros, or in the high school setting, college setting?
Yeah, well, one, you got to work hard. You know, it starts with that. You get somebody that's willing to come in and work, you can shape them, whether it's in the workforce, whether it's in sports, you name it. So you need people to come in and be able to work hard. 2, you need people to be team players. And the one thing I say about that all the time is I think it's one of the things that's missing in society is as a coach or as a leader, you're only as good as the people that you have around you. So if you got people that's around you and they really don't want to work and they really don't want to listen or pay attention, how far can you really go as a program? How far can you really go as a business? So you need people that want to work hard, and you need people that you know that want to listen. And 2, and lastly, 3, you need people who want goals. You know, goals who want to go beyond their everyday details or their everyday program. And so when you have that, they're able to come to you. Like as a coach now, I can learn from my players. Like Larry Brown would tell me all the time, Aaron, I learned so much from you. I never understood it then, you know, and so now I'm learning from my players, which helps me become a better coach. And so you put all of those things together, and those are the disciplines that you need to be successful. You know, somebody that's willing to work hard, somebody that's willing to listen. And those are really simple things. And somebody that's willing to go beyond their normal call of duty, their daily, routine. And I think you can have somebody or something or an organization or a program that's on their way to be successful. And it's really simple to me. You can have people that can give you a laundry list of things. It's really simple. And you watch me every day, come in, work. I was quiet, but I led. I talked when I needed to talk, but just come in and got my work done, kept my head down, and that's it. And that's how you have a 13-year career in coaching NBA and now coaching in college.
Man, you're so right. I can just vividly picture you keeping your head down and just doing whatever you needed to do. And when you spoke, it was like E.F. Hutton. Everyone was quiet and just listened. Okay. But that's wonderful. And, there are certain things that you have inherently as a great leader: integrity, passion, love. Like, these were all part of what you were. You walk the talk. And I just think that's so powerful in a leader, because once that integrity switch is turned off, you can't turn it back on again.
Right.
So, hey, how about this? You've been shot with a double-barrel shotgun, having cancer affected your family twice, your mother and your sister-in-law. Tell us about that and the diagnoses.
Well, I mean, it's, for me, I wasn't really impacted directly right away. For so long, you hear about cancer and families and people that's fighting against it. And, for my mother, it was just like quick. I mean, this was less than 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Where, she was, my mother she was living with me at the time. She was normally an energetic person, up, running around, washing clothes, cooking, cleaning, doing all of those things. And she started to lose her way and her energy and everything else. And she wasn't big on going to the doctors or anything like that. And, I begged and pleaded with her to go, just because she just wasn't right. And when we went to the doctors, they diagnosed her with mantle cell lymphoma. It's a bone cancer, sort of bone cancer. And basically, the doctor said to me, it could be weeks, it could be days, it could be days, weeks, months, years. We just don't know. And my mother was, she was a fighter, a lot like me, just a fighter. And, she was a tough woman and, took care of herself. And, my mom was smoking a pack of cigarettes a day and a beer a day. And she was just a strong woman, but that cancer is tough.
How old was she?
83. And so it was quick. And really, I didn't have a chance to digest it all. It just happened to me so quick. And I'm looking for answers as to who, what, when, where, and how, and, all of these different things. And I reflected back to just being a part of Coaches versus Cancer. And I had a better understanding of what people was dealing with. It happened to me so fast. And some people get a chance to just kind of go through the process and be there for a few years or even longer than that. And, I didn't, but the beauty of it all is my family got to be around my mom, and she got to see her grandkids and everything. And she was at peace, man. She was at peace. So, it's why we fight now. We fight for others. And, as I said before, what I was taught at such a young age, and this is a way of being able to get back to help others that can't really, help themselves. And that's what this Coaches versus Cancer thing is all about.
And did you get involved with Coaches versus Cancer as soon as you became a coach?
Yes.
And do you help raise money for ACS?
Yes, it's a national thing. It's, you got high school coaches, college coaches, pro coaches that all participate in the program. I mean, coaches have raised over $130 million since 1993. For cancer. So, people are doing their work, and it's in its 25th year. In the Philadelphia chapter, the Philadelphia program, Coaches versus Cancer, is the most successful
Is that so?
program. Yes, raised over 7.
Kevin Kelly next, the high school coach, Kevin Kelly, who's very active as well as Coaches versus Cancer. He may not get the notoriety that the Big Five get with you guys, but I know it comes from all sources of coaching. I mean, it doesn't matter where you coach. The Coaches versus Cancer is a wonderful cause. But you also, in addition to your mother Wasn't it your sister-in-law also died of cancer?
Yeah, same sort of thing. And she was going to see different doctors. She went to Houston to see a specialist down in Houston, Texas. They're supposed to have one of the best cancer research centers in the world. And she went there with her brother, because her brother lived in Houston. And she was there for about a month, and that was it.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where, like the doctor was telling me, it could be weeks, it could be months, it could be years, it could be whenever. But just prepare yourself. We want to just make sure people are as comfortable as they could be, and just around family and spreading joy and telling good stories and laughing and smiling and all of those good things. She was at peace as well. So,
Aaron, thank you. Thank you for your work with Coaches versus Cancer. Thank you for just being a leader in the Philadelphia region as well as in all the collegiate settings. And before I let you go, I'm just going to ask you to sit on the bench as we bring Kevin Kelly, and then we'll bring you back on. How's your team look this year?
Good. We, young, still relatively young, but my young guys got a chance to get some experience last year, and it's a process. You know how that process goes.
Oh yeah.
We're adding pieces, and I want to build it out where we have sustained success, where we're not just a one-trick pony sort of thing, where we got plug and play and we have sustained success, and I believe we're heading in that direction.
Well, I'll be following you. I'm a fan of yours, Aaron.
Thanks.
I'll hang on the side, and we'll bring you right back. Thank you. Our next guest is Kevin Kelly. There was Aaron, who's coaching at Temple University and did coach in the pros at Philadelphia 76ers. And now we have a high school coach. Kevin Kelly coaches at Ridley High School. And let me get his. Oh, yeah. For the past 26 years, he's been a coach in the Philadelphia area. And right now he is at Ridley High School. And Kevin was diagnosed. He's going to give us some more insights on Coaches versus Cancer. Kevin was diagnosed in 1998 with CML, it's a leukemia. And then he had a relapse in 2006. And if there's any silver lining to this cloud with Kevin, is that the medicine that he is on, part of his treatment is Gleevec, Gleevec. And the American Cancer Society, through your donations, through the money raised, Coaches versus Cancer and others, they've provided the scientists with the amount of research necessary to create this Gleevec, the first anti-cancer drug to target CML. And Kevin will tell us more about it. Come on, KK.
Hey, Pat, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm great, buddy. So before we came on and we were on the bench in the locker room together, Kevin, Aaron, and myself and Diana and Scott, Kevin Kelly, this name, it rang a bell, but I know a different Kevin Kelly. And then he's talked about Sun Valley High School. And I thought, oh, Kevin Kelly, Sun Valley, he was a good friend of my karate master, Master Scott in Aston. And we used to use his school. He'd get us the opportunity to use the gym at Sun Valley for our biannual testing. Kevin, it's great to see you again.
It's good to see you. Excited to be here, Pat.
I didn't know that, Kevin Kelly, when I saw the bio that Diana provided with me with the leukemia. So give us a rundown on your journey.
Yeah, so it was back in 1997. I had just gotten, and I'll connect a little bit with coaching, but I had just gotten my dream job. I coached at Sun Valley and a few other places at Williamson leading up to that. And I had just gotten the dream job, wanted to coach in the Philadelphia Catholic League, had gotten the job at Archbishop John Carroll in Radnor. And, super excited, got that job. My wife and I were engaged to be married for a year prior to that. So got the job, super excited about getting married, obviously love my life. And in May, we're getting married, Memorial Day weekend. In May, we go away and, come back, and then, getting started on coaching, starting a new life with my wife. And then all of a sudden in August, so we're married two months. And in August of 1997, I was coaching a game in Bailey Park in Havertown, and another good coach does a lot of work for Coaches versus Cancer, Keith Heinrichs, had gotten us in it. It was sold out, got in it. So I'm coaching Carroll in the Summer League game. It's a weekend, which I think is key to the story, but it's a weekend. So we coach the game. I go home. It's a Saturday night. I don't start to feel ill, not good, but I'm thinking, okay, it's the flu, maybe run down. The beauty of it is, at probably 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, my wife runs me to Ridley Hospital. And, if it's not a weekend, they probably treat this as flu. Doctor says, you're pretty sick. Let's draw blood. They draw blood, in the emergency room, and white blood cell comes back at 277,000, right? So sitting there, what does that mean? How do we attack? What does this mean? So he comes back, gives us the news. We think it's leukemia. So some more tests. They admit me, get some more tests, and then all of a sudden they send do a bone marrow biopsy, which I've had many of those, but they send that to the University of Pennsylvania Hospital, a doctor named Dr. David Porter, and it comes back. They diagnosed me, definitely has leukemia. It's chronic myelogenous leukemia, Philadelphia chromosome positive. So, trying to understand.
Stop there for 1 second, Kevin. What is the Philadelphia chromosome?
So it's when the two chromosomes, I believe it's 9 and 22, they disconnect and they create another chromosome. And then that chromosome is determined chronic myelogenous leukemia. It's the Philadelphia chromosome.
And why'd you get the Philadelphia name?
There was some background and some research and science that's what they had named it under Philadelphia. I think it was understood in one of the hospitals in Philadelphia, but it's very specific because the two chromosomes break off and they create this one. So interesting, and obviously being a local guy, Philadelphia guy, so we at that point we're trying to figure out what's going on, how do we attack this. And things are going through your head, right? So you got to understand it. But the biggest thing was, okay, we have this. What are the options? So my wife and I and my family walk in with my parents into University of Pennsylvania Hospital. And they said, you basically have a couple options. We could treat it with chemotherapy. It may go away. It may not, right? Depending on what happens, we can't give you any specific time frame. It's rare that it ever goes away. It stays in remission. The other option was we can go with a bone marrow transplant. Where you have to have a exact match. So there's two options to that. They go into the bone marrow registry, they test, pull blood, see if there's anybody that matches you, and it comes back yes or no. I did not have a match in the marrow registry at that point. So the other option was we could test a family member, and it's so I had one brother. They can't test your mom or dad, so I had a brother. They test him. He comes back as a match, not a perfect match, but by the grace of God, it's enough that they can give me a bone marrow transplant. So we chose I want to go after the bone marrow transplant because that is it gives you the biggest chance at that time. 97, it was pretty fatal at that point. Now it's made great development, but that's a chance where you can live a normal life, still in remission. But it gives you a lot more options, and it's not going to get chemo every couple weeks, every different routines with that. So we chose. Kevin,
can you tell us exactly what a bone marrow transplant involves?
Yeah, it's so for the donor, it's a little bit more painful, but for the patient, it is so they basically put me in the University of Pennsylvania Hospital. They give you extremely high doses of chemotherapy. They take your white blood cell count all the way down to 0, right? So you're pretty much staring death in the face, right? So then How
long is that? How long does that take?
That routine of the chemotherapy is 10 hard days, and it's a few times
in a row.
Day. What's that?
In a row.
10 hard days in a row. It drives your chemo. It drives your white blood cell count to 0 down. Then the day comes where the marrow, now it has to be timed perfectly. The marrow from my brother, they extract that from him where they're drilling into his back, across his back, extracting the marrow out. They put that in, purify it, put it in a bag, and then it's pretty anticlimactic. You're looking, you go through all the chemotherapy. Now there's a bag, and then they hook you up to IVs and they put it through your body. After that is when it becomes a pretty daunting task because you're in isolation. I was in isolation in the University of Pennsylvania Hospital for 52 days, where you have a certain amount of days when that marrow goes into your body for it to take. And in those times, the marrow is fighting your own body because it's something new that's going in your body, and they're fighting one another. And you have tremendous side effects. You can get what they call graft versus host, where the marrow of the donor is going after the host, and you have tremendous infections. You have, it's just it's daunting. There's a lot of things that go along with that. But the key is that marrow has got to take. And I was very stat guy from my coaching perspective, and I'm looking at numbers and, hoping it's going to take. At night, you're sitting there, it's all day, and you're just hoping that thing finally takes. Well, mine was a little bit delayed in where my numbers started to go up. At like day 13 or 14, it finally took. And, the problem there is if it doesn't take, you're not going to survive. And that's
so for 2 weeks, Kevin, you had the IV going, not knowing if it was going to take or not.
No, the IV is only 3 hours. It's boom. It drives into your body, 3 hours. You go lay in a bed, and then you're just hoping by the grace.
Okay, so for the next 13 days minus 3 hours, you're waiting.
Yes, I was waiting. I was on the edge of my
Looking
bed.
at the box scores.
Well, at times you're pretty sick. So, you have to get Hickman catheters put in, and, that got infected, and all these things are happening, and you just got to say it. I was just married 2 months, and, I'm like, so you have all those things going through your head, but most importantly, you want to make sure that you survive and you get to, I always looked at it as my brother saved my life, right? He was the one that gave me the marrow. I have a brand new wife. This thing's got to take because I got to live, right? I love living too much, and I want to get to the next day. I want to get out of the hospital, and I want to get back to coaching. So there was a lot of waiting and a lot of sickness that went along with it.
It took.
It did. Yes.
But you had a relapse in like 7 years later.
I had a relapse. It was almost, almost nine years to a little bit to the day. Yeah. I relapsed, and they had told you that up front. Like there was stats, like they said, 30% of patients that get a bone marrow transplant survive. The other ones don't. Right. So there's, and then you're going to have X amount of years. At that time in 97, the studies were still too vague to say, how they can't prolong life out. How long are you going to live? So they were telling me that, some patients do relapse in that 8 to 12 year mark. So I had a phenomenal, 9-10 years almost of living a normal life. We had 3 beautiful children, right? We have 3 kids. And, science, great doctors telling us you have to do certain things to make sure that you can have those children. And, it was awesome. So I was getting out of transplant. I have children. I have a brand new wife, my family, my brother. I'm working, hard every day.
Were you coaching at this time?
Where am I?
Yeah. Where were you at 2006 when you?
So I had just gotten a job at Archbishop Carroll in the Philadelphia Catholic League. And I wasn't able to coach that winter because of the transplant.
But that was in 98, but I'm talking about 2006 when you had
2006 I was at Sun Valley. It was my second turnaround at Sun Valley. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what was the relapse like, the symptoms you had, and what treatment plan?
So the symptoms weren't even there. Like I still to this day still go up every 3 weeks, but I have treatments I have to get for that. But the relapse was I started to get some pain back in my back, but it was a routine bone marrow biopsy that they had taken. Maybe a number was up, like a white blood cell count was up, and they also they call it bacon for this Philadelphia chromosome. It showed low levels of detection. So we were actually at the Baltimore Aquarium with our kids, and the phone call came in from University of Pennsylvania Hospital, like, hey, you got to get down here. We want to do, another biopsy to make sure. And then it came back and it confirmed that I had relapsed. And that's when I was going on the drug Gleevec that you had talked about. And it was, it was, again, it's a pill. You take it. I still take it to this day, every day. But the relapse was not anything that was like, I wasn't feeling exhausted, but I was working out. I'd worked out. I was riding bikes for, the Cancer Society. We were running century rides and doing different things. We did some, one of a good friend of mine that I rode bikes with, he had moved to Texas, Rodney Shing. We would do junior triathlons, or they were like sprints. So I was swimming, I was doing 5Ks, we were riding bikes, I was lifting. So I was thinking, hey, it's not a big deal. Maybe the pain from something else, from overexerting something or, tweaking something. But I wasn't feeling bad. And then it was just one of those things where, yes, you did relapse, but they also said, I always say, things unveil. And the drug was only out for a couple of years, right? There wasn't a lot of people, but I've been blessed because I've been ahead of things, right? I mean, there's been this great drug that's here. I'm coming on the backside of it. We have this option. There was other options. So it was the same way of attacking that is, what can I do to beat it. What do we have to do? And it's like, okay, you got to take this pill. You still have to come up. You got to give blood. We got to monitor it. You got to make sure you're taking care of your body and doing those things. So it was definitely a relapse. It was serious, but they had something for it. And then also making sure that, you're attacking the day and attacking things that you need to attack the right way with the right attitude. And I think I've been blessed with that.
And you were blessed also with the intelligence to keep your screenings going, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the beauties is like, we have great doctors and, but it's, you're required, like when I'm on this protocol, cause it's in remission, but with blood diseases, it can come back. Right. So it's very regimented. You have to make sure that you go in there every, 3 weeks. And I also go up for other things from the transplant, but I stay on top of that stuff and make sure that I'm not missing those appointments.
So your treatment plan right now is regular checkups and a daily pill?
Yes. Yep.
Anything else?
No. So through the transplant, I'd gotten rheumatoid arthritis. So it's pretty painful and it was pretty interesting there. So I'd started to get which I had thought another relapse, but there was other things that were going on. So they had diagnosed me with that. And it was most likely because of the heavy doses of drugs that I had taken through the chemo and through all the things that I've done. And then also the transplant. Transplant takes tremendous toll on, your kidneys, your heart. So you have like a team of doctors and they got it in check and everything's good. I mean, and I just think it's how can it not? Like, I have a beautiful wife, 3 great kids, great family, brother. I mean, so I think it's just the way you're approaching things. And, I wake up every day, I've gotten a couple tattoos, to win the day, courage, those types of things to motivate me when I need it. But I got the best motivation. And, again, my wife, my kids, that's what it's all about. And, you're going to win and you're going to have the right attitude to attack cancer because you have so much going for you.
How has that attitude changed, being diagnosed with cancer and then still living a full life, but seeing exactly what you saw before, but how you see it? How you saw it change?
Yeah, so I think just the way I attack that each day now, right? I mean, when I was prior to cancer, it was more like things that were important. They really weren't, right? So you look at the beauty of the day. We love going to the mountains. I love we ride bikes along the Lehigh River, right? So those types of things I myself just thoroughly enjoy. And when there's things going on in your head, like you can escape, right? You can get out to those pieces, the great things to be able to relieve any of that might be happening. But I think it's nature. It's just attacking the day. And I want to win the day each day. I always tell my kids, and we used to have it on the back of our practice shirts, like, Kaizen, continuous improvement.
Oh, yeah.
Day, right. And I always tell them, like, there's times you might be uncomfortable, right? But I want them to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And if I get to that scenario, I don't like to look back too much, but you dwell on that past as far as, hey, how much you've been given and how you've been blessed and been able to have great doctors, great treatment, great family. And it's just things before that may have been important just aren't that important. I just enjoy every day and try to attack it.
I love your high vibrational energy. Let's just touch briefly on Kaizen, because you said it so subtly and it means so much to me. It's a Japanese word. Take it, share with everyone the philosophy of Kaizen and how you utilize it in your life.
So it's continuous improvement, right? And I look at it from, I try to apply it, and it's deep, but I try to apply it when it's at my treatment levels, right? And I'll use basically either the cancer or the arthritis, because when you get hit with the rheumatoid arthritis, it was extremely painful, right? So you could be, times you were laid up, right? But I don't like to stay, I don't want to stay laid up for more than a day, right? If it was something that was really debilitating, I like to attack it. So I would try to get continuous improvement with working out, right? And it's one of those things where if I wasn't feeling great, I want to be able to take it to the next level. I want to be able to lift a little bit more. I want to be able to walk a little bit longer, right? And if we have a couple dogs, so I'm going to take them on a longer walk, right? If I wasn't feeling good, but I want to improve, how I'm feeling physically each day by that philosophy, and I've used it for years, but also mentally. I mean, when those, and I had watched a lot of your other previous, the demons in your head, and I can't tell you what I call them because it's obviously I don't want to use the language, but it's there, right? So mentally, you've got to get stronger and you've got to figure out a way to release those negative thoughts and there's things that are potentially impacting my family, impacting something at work. And if you don't have the right mindset and the right attitude, you can take steps back. So I'm always looking to try to attack the day, win the day, and continuously improve in whatever it is that there may be a weakness or something else.
Oh, man, I love you. I love your attitude. And before we bring Aaron McKie back on, just tell us a little bit about your involvement with Coaches versus Cancer, because I know you've been very active and stimulated a lot of activity with other coaches.
Yeah, well, first off, I think it's an awesome organization, and I'm specifically, Aaron had said the national, but I'm talking Philadelphia. They got beautiful people working, doing phenomenal things, and so myself, we had just finished up a couple weeks of camp for Ridley. So we try to drive. I drive the awareness every Friday at camp where we'll do a skills challenge, but we also do it to benefit Coaches versus Cancer. So we take a portion of the donations from the camp fee, and then also folks donate, and we donate that money to Coaches versus Cancer. So do that every summer, and still try to drive it. But I talk to them, right? I talk to the kids every Friday and tell them how important it is to, more importantly, give back, but also how important this fight is that, local coaches, national coaches, how passionate we are about trying to find a cure, improve research. I give them my story. Like, I may not have been here if it wasn't for donations to the American Cancer Society to help fund Gleevec. And I just tell them like how blessed they are and how fortunate they are to have it. And then we also do a lot of work during the season. The Central League coaches, there's a few of them that, actually do these events. So we try to have Coaches versus Cancer games where, we'll have the batter off. If the administrations are so supportive, like the guy at Ridley, Jack Signer and Chaz Maris, they do a great job at Ridley, but there's also, Pencrest, Haverford, Lower Merion, they all do these things as well. So we not only have the support of the coaches, we have the support of tremendous administration. And, it's just so passionate for me, and a little tidbit, every time I go down to University of Pennsylvania to get my, infusion or something else, I always, go out the front door, go to 34th Street, take a walk over to Children's Hospital. And it just re-energizes me because, we do things there at Christmas, for Operation, Santa Claus bring gifts to these families, but I won't stop working until kids, don't have to go through this. And that's the part that really gets me and really drives me, is that I don't think kids should have to do it. So I'm going to continue to work to help drive this awareness, drive, the ability to drive money and just try to find a cure. I mean, it's just, when you have great role models in the city, in these college coaches do so much work, it's just phenomenal. I mean, it's just so passionate to me.
Kevin Kelly, I now see why Paula Green, our executive director here in the Philadelphia area, said, "You're going to love this guy." I do love you. I love you. Now move over, because we're bringing the sixth man back in. All right. Aaron McKie. Aaron, is this guy wild or what? How would you love to coach him?
That's great, man. Great energy. We call guys like that rabbits, man. When everybody else walking, he ready to go. He's wired and ready to go. That's awesome stuff, man. Awesome.
Hey, Kevin, before we bring in any questions from our audience, do you have any questions for Aaron?
I don't have a question for Aaron, but you had mentioned back to Belfield Rec. So just a quick tidbit, and always thankful for everything you've done for the city of Philadelphia. But my AAU team that I have the pleasure to coach my son on, and we've been together for 6 years. I've taken them up with my high school team up to in Philadelphia. We tour all the rec leagues. And we went into Belfield Rec, and the kids were like, "What are you taking a picture of?" I said, "I'm taking a picture of Bill Ellerby and Aaron McKie on the wall at Belfield Rec." And then they hate it when I start to tell stories about it, because I've watched it. I mean, I used to get out of Coach Chaney's practice in the thing and watch you guys practice and take notes from them. But I just want to tell you that, Tim, always thank you for everything you've done for Philadelphia. But I told the kids, this guy's legendary, right? I mean, it's just awesome. So I just wanted to give you that quick tidbit.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Diana, if you come on now. Hello, Diana. Diana's with our ACS Healed. She's our director of our Healed movement.
Just had to unmute my mic, sorry. So thanks, everyone. This has been great conversation, and we do have a couple of questions. So the first one is for Aaron. How has being part of Coaches versus Cancer and the American Cancer Society helped you with the loss of your mom and sister-in-law from cancer?
my mic is on?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
It's helped me a lot. It really helped me understand the big picture of everything. Just listening to Coach Kelly and how he's a fighter and he's fighting for others. And ironically, we had an event that was coming up when I was dealing with my mom, and I just really didn't know how to handle it at the particular time. So Allie and all the other individuals that help out was trying to reach out to me, but I just couldn't get my arms around what was going on. I guess I should say I was in shock. And I called Allie, and my mother had just passed away, and I was just trying to get it out to tell her. And what I was really trying to say to her was thanks, and thanking you guys for what you do. And I really started to understand how important it is to just the support system and the different people, the individuals that's involved, that's around to help these families and these kids and these mothers and these fathers and these. So many people play a part into this. I think the coaches are the ones that's out in front. As Coach Kelly was saying, there's so many other people that's involved to help others deal with this. And just being a part of this helped me through everything. And I'm very appreciative of that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so the next question is for Kevin. You talk about you do a lot of cycling. You've done charity bike rides with the ACS to raise money for Coaches versus Cancer. Has your cancer diagnosis and your ongoing treatment with Gleevec, do you have any side effects as far as does it affect your ability to cycle? And what other things do you do to stay active?
So the side effects of Gleevec, it was one of those experimental things. When's the best time to take it? So I found that the best time for me to take it, obviously it's different, but I take it at night before I go to bed. So a lot of times you're sleeping through those side effects and you're not dealing with them through the course of the day. Now that doesn't mean you don't have them during the day, and then depending on what you're putting in your body, right? I think that there's a lot of things with Gleevec that it interacts with. So you just do a lot of study on what to eat, what not to eat. And that's key. Cycling's, I loved it when I was doing it a lot. It definitely, there's some definitely impacts to it because you have issues with muscles and you have issues with those types of things as far as how it hits you, dehydrates you a lot. So you have to make sure you're taking fluids. I enjoy it today, as you're getting older, you obviously can't do those types of things as easily as you could before, but I enjoy, swimming. I enjoy taking long walks with my family. We take walks with my dog. I do a ton of weight bearing stuff where I'm, in the gym. I try to go to the gym 3 or 4 days a week, whether you're doing weight bearing or doing machine work and lifting and working out. But I think those have taken over more that I've gotten older, for sure. But I think again, it's making sure that you're talking to your doctor, ensuring that you're putting the right things in your body on any of these drugs that you're taking, but specifically Gleevec, because it definitely has some impacts, and when you take it is critical.
Now, do you think
Diana, can I ask Kevin one thing, because we glazed over the donor portion of this, your brother. What should donors know in advance?
Yeah, so one of the things, with a donor standpoint, the initial part of it is it's a swab, see if you're a match. Then it becomes like they want to look at their how they are, what's their health like. My brother's a collegiate official, so he's in great shape and has always been in great shape. So are they in good shape, good health? The pain's not going to be absent, right? You got to understand that they are going to do biopsies across your back. They're going to take out marrow out of your body. I think the key thing there is, that was hard for me to take, that he has to go through that pain to give this to me. But there's probably almost a 6 to 8 week recovery from that. When I mean recovery, you're going to be in pain across the back. You're also, you could get, low grade fevers and those types of things, where I think they're the biggest things. You got to understand what you're getting into when you get into it. Obviously it's a great gift and you're saving lives, but they're probably the biggest things. It's not pain-free, right? You're going to have to take that, but you're also given a great gift. There's no better sacrifice, obviously. But it's, the initial part is just a swab to figure out if you are a match.
Kevin, what's your brother's name?
Ken Kelly. How's
Ken doing?
He's doing great. Yeah, he's doing fine.
You owe him, right?
I'm indebted to him for the rest of my life, right? Without him, I'm not here. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Diana.
Okay. So Kevin, just piggybacking on the first question really quick, do you think or what effect do you think the fact that you are so active has on your quality of life after cancer treatment?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I think your physical activity, ensuring that your, again, nutrition's there, keeping your weight low, as low as you can, and then also just being out there physically and working out. Working out, I mean, is huge, right? It's just key. I mean, I think if you're sedentary and you're just sitting around, granted, treatments are not fun, and it's easy to go home, lay in bed, and not feel good, because clearly there's days you're going to have that. But I also think it's the mindset and the mentality of, you have that treatment, you want to fight that treatment, right? You don't want to get to that point of feeling bad. So I think it's huge. I mean, I just think it's helped me over the course of the years. And then I think just the physical exercise makes your mind so much sharper, and it offsets a lot of those things as well. So I think it's, without it, I don't think I have the success that I have.
Okay, and one more question for Aaron. What is your favorite memory of playing on the 76ers with Pat Croce?
How about now?
Yeah, you're good.
There you go.
I think that first game out in LA.
Oh,
When we won game 1, and Pat was sitting in the middle of a sea of Laker fans, and I could see him after the game, the horn go off, he got his arms up and he looking around in the crowd with that look like, I told y'all, looking around, and just bubbly with all of that energy. That was one of the finest moments right there.
I have to say that step over that Alan did in that game, Tyrone Lue over that, and we win in overtime. What Aaron's talking about, everyone, is game 1 of the 2001 championship series, where Aaron McKie and Allen Iverson and the 76ers won the first game. We lost the next 4 to Shaq and Kobe and that entire Lakers team. But it was just a wonderful experience to be with these guys, because there's just, you guys, Kevin Kelly and Aaron McKie, you're coaches now. You know all about, by definition, motivation, inspiration, leadership. That team demonstrated to Philadelphia, never give up. Just like, Kevin, you're demonstrating to all cancer patients, never, ever give up. And I'll ask you, both of you, and thank you for that, Aaron, to leave our audience with one last bit of wisdom. Kevin?
I'd just say win the day.
Win the day.
Yep.
What a great 3-word mantra. Win the day. Aaron?
And it's funny, Kevin, you say win the day. My theme for my guys this summer, for just to simplify it for them, was get better every day. And whatever that meant to them, that's what it meant. That was the definition of it. And mine's, Pat, is just reach back to go forward. As we do here with American Cancer Society and Coaches versus Cancer, we're reaching back to help these people go forward, and also to help us go forward.
Man, we have to end on that. Beautiful sentiments. Aaron McKie, I love you. Kevin Kelly, I've grown to love you in an hour. Thank you. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
We end
Thanks,
with a prayer. We end this gathering with a prayer, and it's a simple one. It's one of gratitude. Thank you for the grace in helping me to welcome what is right now. Peace. Thank you.